I hope everyone will be healthy and in good health. And then today, our People's Go group, I will be the moderator for this dialogue instead of Susan Tue, and I'll be moderating this session. And then when Susan Tue arrives here, and then I will hand over to her. Today, let's talk about it. And then during our live session, in order for you to be able to part of these discussions, and then you have the link as well. And together with our speakers, you can also discuss, and then you can give comments and notes on this. And then we really appreciate and value the comments and then the discussions of each and every one. So how are we going to change the pain that has caused us into the revolution opinion? For so many years in Myanmar, people have suffered from the army's brutalities, and human rights violations have been encountered in different places so far. And everybody suffered and they have pains for that. And then in each and every generations, people continue with their revolutionary activities. And when we talked about revolution, when people see the post-coup 2021 revolution, young people have been part of it. Young people ask questions on when the revolution is going to complete. So what is the driving force of the revolution? And then what can we be part of it? And it is also a question to each of us, finances or peoples or standards and policies. So what can we be part of it? So let's find out with people here, the resource persons here, and those who are part of it, then you can also discuss. So CDM Dr. Domimian Sein, she is also here. U Tunji is also a former political prisoner. Go Lwin Wu is also from BDMSC. And then, so we have invited them, and at the same time, we have invited a researcher, Nyan Thit, as well. With these four speakers, we will talk about it, and then our People's Go will be part of the moderator teams, and then let's start our dialogue now. And let us have the introduction to the speakers. And first, Siamato Mimian Sein, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes. အားလုံးမင်္ဂလာပါ
Minglaba everyone. My name is Mimian Sein, and then I was the static doctor in the past, and then I work in different hospitals and have more than 30 years of experience. Within these 30 years, I have been in most of the operational theaters and so in different COVID and other, so I have been part of it. And then in 2021, after the coup, I was not part of 505. However, so because I wanted to do and my part, and then right now I continue to support the revolution so far, wherever I am. And in this revolution, I am continuing as much as I could. Thank you very much for your participation here in the People's Goals. Right now, let me invite Sia Utonji, and then everybody knows you, and then you have been part of these live sessions, and then there might be people who do not know you here in People's Goals. So can you please introduce yourself again? It seems like you are muted. Minglaba everyone, my greetings to you. And then when I got invited by People's Goals, and then I'm very much honored, and thanks to People's Goals as well. And then the other thing is that today's live, those who have been watching live, like different voices and different audiences here, I really would like to thank you. And at the same time, I would like to thank all the media who has been broadcasting this. I was a student's generation, and then in Makata, I was a joint secretary of Makata as well, and I have been part of the political prisoners for more than 10 years, and it has been more than 3 decades that I've been in this. At the same time, I would like to say that before the political the coup in 2011, I was leading member, and then after 2021 coup, and then in the multi uh, religious group, I have been part of it, and then I have been a speaker as well in the revolution. And as much as we could, whatever we could do, we are continuing and supporting the revolution. Thank you very much. Thank you uh, for being part of this while you have a lot of work. The next person is a researcher, Nyan Thit. Let me invite Nyan Thit, and can you please introduce yourself?
အားလုံးမင်္ဂလာပါကျွန်တော်
Minglaba everyone. My name is Nyan Thit.
ကျွန်တော်က2011ခုနှစ်ကနေစပြီးတော့မြန်မာနို
Since
င်ငံမှာ
2011 in Myanmar, I have started research and then give research methodology trainings. As I am a researcher, I continue to work on research activities. Right now, what am I doing? What kind of researches I am doing? For everyday's life, what kind of impact does the coup has on everyday's life of the people? Right now, everyone, like, this is a huge people's movement, and then in this movement, this is like the armed revolution, and then it has how it has changed the opinion of the governance, and then how it has changed the village and then the local governance issues. And then I also started like monitoring and then studying the NUG and NUCC, and then continue to give also research methodology training. And then with the experience that we have, and then I also kind of like share the experience on research methodologies and how to set up independent research groups. And the next person that we have invited is Lwin. Lwin, can you please introduce yourself? Minglaba. Minglaba, everyone. I just would like to say Minglaba to everyone. So I have been part in 2014. I was in the Technological University of Dawei, and then I have been part of it, and then in the students, and then in 2015, 2000 in the democracies education movement, I have been part of it as well. And then in today, Spring Revolution, after the coup, as soon as the coup has started, we have been part of DDMSC. And then since then, we've been doing a lot of campaign activities and other revolution activities as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Komileu. Your voice is kind of like very much interrupted. And can you please also kind of like go slow. Also, don't rush. We have simultaneous interpretation as well, and therefore that would be good if you could slow down the pace and then continue speaking. So you have heard right now 4 speakers so far. Usually we only have 3 speakers, and then this week we have 4 people because this issue is very much important. Every day we have the pains in our life, and then we suffer a lot, depressed a lot, and then we have been kind of like struggling with this every day, and what are we going to do? And we have to decide it every day. Anything that we are thinking what we are going to do usually is like our minds is like we have to prepare first, and then this is very important. And in the CDM community, as well as like students who are on the ground doing the revolution, we have youth here, and we have minorities, and we have like political prisoners, and then researchers. So we have invited everybody, and then with the time that they have given us right now, everybody is here with different experience that they have had. And in this very difficult time, how did you come across like our seniors, like 96, 88, this kind of thing? As I have said earlier, like many like younger people, students have struggled a lot, and our seniors have experiences, and then how they have come across, and that it is very important to listen to one another, our senior, junior. So I would like to ask the questions. How did you overcome this? And then like the speaker would kind of like share. The first one that because of this injustice, do you have like pain in your life? And then what are the feeling in your like what is your feeling? And then how did you prepare or digest it in your head? And then in order to change it to the revolutionary thinking, like what are you thinking about it? How have you changed your pain into this way of thinking? Like around like 10 minutes, like so since the time of CDM, and then you have come across so many injustice, and then how did you survive, and then how did you come across this? Can you please explain us about that? So first, I am not a researcher. I am just an ordinary person, civilian, and so my way of thinking, and then I am going to share how have I come across So since my parents were, since I was young, so we have been part of this, and then it's not that my kind of my suffering, but it is their suffering and my parents suffering. What I have suffered later, I learn about it. What I would like to say is that in our country, in our country, when we suffer from the injustice, how do we counter it? How do we face it? Even injustice, we do not even know like what is the injustice. So I just wanted to say it first that we do not know what is the injustice. Then for some, so we have been suffering from the propaganda and then kind of like being manipulated, and we did not even know how we have been treated injustly for many years. So your rights, discrimination, it is also like injustice as well. This is my thinking. There are a lot of discrimination, and then when you are a Burmese person, so there are like you have come across like more rights and opportunities, and this is also injustice. I just learned it not very long ago also myself, and then not knowing that injustice, and then you just neglect it, and then it has been the injustice upon other people as well, and many people needs to know this as well. What I have faced myself is like during COVID period, there might be a lot, but then in during the COVID period, so I have suffered, I have kind of like seen the injustice. There are injustice in Yangon, but then COVID is also affecting in other different states and region, but then we didn't have the same level of support. And then it is so like the people have done the best, and we have a lot of challenges you would know. So I got also infected. I was not guilty that I was being infected, but then we have this potential to be uh, uh, infected, but then people do not listen to us, and we have been ignored. And so there is no attention given to those professionals. So we it was known that it is risky, but then what's left behind, and then I suffer from this injustice as well. It is not that you are being shot by a gun and then this is injustice. It is not like that, but then your rights to voice, and you are not being respected, and then what you cannot implement this. This is also kind of like injustice, and then I have also suffered a lot and feels a lot, and and it's kind of like it has been reached me to suffer this pain whatever you do good in this period, and when you have this then you are being ignored. So I just reached to this stage. So there are a lot of things, and then in Yangon region when there are a lot of COVID, and so so we have asked for other support, and then since our like region and states like the medical professionals are not enough even in that area, and then asking them to come to Yangon is not fair as well. So those like the nursing, the dads who just have the kids kind of like just finished their training, and these people do not have much experience, they might get some experience. However, when asking for them to work like this, it's not fair. So this needs a lot of political opinion, and at that time there was no gun involved. Injustice, not like unfairness, are ongoing. When I got infected by COVID, I kind of like thought about it, and when I recover, in order for others to be like, not to be like me, not to suffer like me, and not to get infected like me, like how do we do this? I was thinking about it, and like people make me feel pain. I did not have this kind of like to revenge, but then I am thinking only like other people not to suffer like me, and then like I was kind of like inspired, and then I felt like, better. So I did my best in order like meditate, read this kind of thing to relax myself, and then so so and then also the root causes we have to look for information, and then I have the opinion to kind of like recite the Buddha words, and so whenever it is so difficult, this is like the way how I experience and overcome this. So this is something that what you have learned, and then right now, and then in the political issues, as a person you have heard, and when how did you overcome about this? And then what I noticed is that you have to take care of yourself first. You wanted to help other people, and then when you wanted to do justice, you have to look after yourself first, and then so when so I have seen that, so your willingness and then your perseverance is kind of like what I have seen here, and then how our people come across in their everyday life. Please kind of like realize yourself, and then if there is anything that you wanted to share, just come to the link, and then you can share it as well in the link. For those who are struggling, we need to help one another. Right now, we have CDM, Dr. Dominion saying like how he has come across, and then let me invite Xia Utunji here, and then you are a former political prisoners, and you talked about many important things, and until today, in order to talk about yourself, you have to repeat again your about you, and then like please share it with other people, and then why, and then what are your inspiration for today's. So this is a very good question.
It is a very good question. I'm very glad that I have this chance to share with you. Since I was young, um, and I was born as a Muslim from the Muslim community. By the time that I knew things, there were name callings to us. They call us Kala, and but my physical appearance is somewhat different from the standard Islam appearance. This is to say that I had a fair skin. But anyway, I was called with all sort of names when I was young, and I realized that people treated me with all this bad intention because of the fact that I was a Muslim. And at that, I mean, when we were at school, the school teachers could not manage to accommodate the religious diversity at school. There were praying, but only the Buddhist praying were there. And but then again, the General Newin at that time has had the systematic divide and rule mechanism with all this deliberate speech of hate utilized. So there were discrimination, there were oppression when we were young. So that is something that we experienced when I was a child, and my family asked me to did all sort of errand and for house activities. So I was asked to do some shopping. I was asked to fetch this and that outside of the house. So when I was out on the street and I realized that there were all the military intelligence disguised in public attire, and my family were worried about that I could be harmed. And I was very outspoken in my family. When I was at tea shop, my family told me that not to spoken thing out loud. They were worried that there would be some negative consequences on me if I spoke out. And of course, there were all sort of discrimination. But then again, there were all sort of um, bad feeling. There were all sort of feeling of hurt that we had. So trauma, uh, emotion has always been with us. So there were all this feeling that we had and we were young, but after all this time we happened to realize about the about the values, norms and everything, and I became realize that there was systematic discrimination, oppression, and being an Islam individual, being a Burmese Islam individual, um, we realized that it was in 1937 October. We were announced as the official group of the country, belonging to 135 nationalities of the country. So, um, after all this time, I became realized that the Myanmar socialist regime and General Ne Win introduced this discriminatory mechanism by using Buddhism as a religion that they utilize for the promotion of divide and rule. So this is how we realized gradually as well. Of course, there were all sort of negative feeling among us with all this treatment that we have. But then again, there is this Muslim religious teaching that one has to stand very strong on righteousness, and one has to be bold and strong enough to to abide by the justice. So this is the Muslim teaching actually, and another important Islam teaching is that the ruler of the country has to be the righteous one, and people will suffer under the the bad rulers. So this is clearly mentioned in the Islam religious teaching as well. So after all this time, there are feeling of hurt, and we were deprived from freedom of speech, and we were treated in a very discriminative in a very discriminatory forms. Our family did not do very well in terms of our financial status. Around 1972, what happened is that the General Lwin government abolished the Myanmar currency notes. They made this announcement. So what happened is that there was this enormous financial loss of the individual in the country. So at the same time, what happened is that there are some solidarity action among the public in order to comfort the grievances of each and other in the community. So I think this is a start of the public movement for the for the bigger one to come in the later stage. So the regime of the General Lwin is very much like the Nazi regime, I would say. And they came up with this nationality spirit. They came up with this religious spirit. They came up with this um, narrative um, of 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 our people as the foreigner of the country. So all of these are the deliberate attempts of distorting the truth. And looking back the history, the small Islam minority community contributed the country already in the old kings and queens time of Myanmar, and during the colonial revolution time, we as the Islam community contributed for the freedom of a country as well. Even after the independence, even up to this revolutionary era, the Islam individual sacrifices their lives for the freedom of the country. I got graduated from the University of Distant Learning. So I was exposed to the different community for learning and for my living as well. And I happened to engaged with the student union, university student union actually, and I became the associate general secretary of the distant learning university trade unions. And after that, we were arrested with all sort of arbitrary charges to detain us. So all of these are purely injustice. We did nothing wrong. I was the victim of the injustice regime, and myself was the generation Z of my time. So what I would like to say is that there are victims, there are survivors, there are people in grievances, all across the history, all across the time, they are required to enjoy the justice. And of course, I was put in jail, and after I got released, I continuously and consistently participate in the struggle for the justice. Only in Myanmar, we have the biggest number of the political prisoners. The political prisoners were treated inhumanely and brutally in the prisons and in the interrogation centers as well. And even among the victim, the Muslim victim were treated um, worse than the other victims as well. So they told me that, you know what, you are the Kala victim, and I'm going to beat you harder. And indeed, it's just my sheer luck that I still live up to date even after all this brutal treatment in the interrogation centers. In the prison, the political prisoners are to be treated discriminatively and they are to be tortured. So, this is definitely the deliberate action and tactics of the military regime. And another thing that I would like to talk is that if there is military dictatorship, there is always the injustice. So we definitely need to develop and implement the cause of justice by revolting, by opposing the military dictatorship. Our uh, before generation of the revolution, it's 1960s student generation. I belong to 1988 student generation, and now we have 2021 generation Z student generation. We salute them. They are so brave, they are so committed for their fight of the freedom. So our generation in the past definitely understand and definitely salute their sacrifices as well. They are revolting the injustice. They feel so hard. They are physically hard and they are physically tortured, but their spirit cannot be oppressed. Their mentality cannot be oppressed. I talk with them quite frequently, and I knew that their spirits are so strong, their attitudes are so strong. I know. And another thing that I would like to talk about is that I belong to the Muslim community. I belong to the minority of the country. So intersectionally speaking, I am victims in multiple perspective. But the thing is that we do not have this um, national registration card as well as the member of the Muslim community. So these are all the injustice, unfair, inhumane, and brutal discrimination toward us. So we cannot just accept that. We have to we have to be very strong in terms of our spirit in order to fight for the justice. So, with the solidarity among ourselves, we definitely have to keep on traveling the journey of freedom. So, with the same spirit, with the same attitude, with the solidarity, with the determination, we definitely can be the winning side of the revolution. Thank you. thank you very much for your information since you are young, and you share about your student life, and you share about the situation of the and and you also share about the situations of the political prisoner. So you talked about the brutal treatment and inhumane treatment because of who you are. And we also know that lots of Muslim comrades of us um, experience all sort of bad treatments. So your situation is quite a good example for everyone. You mentioned about the Islam religious teaching as the anchor of your righteous journey. So this is quite a commendable attitude indeed. And you also talked about that the youth generations take on for the fight and struggle for the freedom. So we definitely are on the same page, going together for our future. Now, I would like to invite the researcher Nyan Thit for his opinion. Thank you.
In quest in question one, um, so let me answer the first questions, and then when suffering from the injustice as a researcher, I have seen that like this is like people are suffering from this, and then the most importantly, like the perpetrators, um, Rohingya people are the residents of Arakan region, and then in Myanmar country, and then I myself included, and those who are ethnicities, they have suffered. So I have kind of like I have myself a lot kind of like talk to them, um, and then discriminated against them in order. The first one is that understanding what causes injustice, and then this is like the injustice, and then admitting that this is the injustice. What I would like to say is that knowing this as injustice, and then admitting that this is injustice, and then this will, if you do this, this will make them feel justice in their lives. And then the question two, either yourself or other persons injustice that you have come across, what kind of experience that you have come, what more suffering, and then this pressure of the systems, and then political reforms needs in these things, like what kind of consideration you have. Like I said earlier, Rohingya people have suffered for many years the injustice. I myself learned about it through research, and then I looked at the sources that cause the root cause that cause the injustice. So what the main root cause is our learning, and then this learning and then perceptions kind of like make it if you would like to do this at the same time, and then it is important that you have to create this kind of perception. Therefore, the state, especially the dictator states, they kind of like figure out how in like the education system they do it, and then they share the propaganda in order for them to hold on to the power, and like controlling the knowledge becomes the power, and then the dictators knows about this very well.
1962ခုနှစ်
In 1962, when Lwin took over power, Rohingya people were being discriminated. And then after 1990, when General Kim Il was in power, and then Nasaka era, the Rohingya people has stated that there is more discrimination. And then in 2012, between Rakhine and Rohingya people, there has been communal conflicts. Lots of Rohingya were killed, houses were burned down, houses that they have been living for 100 years, they have been moved to other places, they have to live separately. And in 2016 and 17, the army killed them, raped them, and then put the houses on fire. And then these people, they have to run away from flee their houses to Bangladesh. And then like right now, when the whole country is revolution, then people were doing that. But then when Rohingya suffered that, then what the people are doing, they said this is good. We have to protect our people, these kind of things. It is not just Rohingya. Like if it is not Burmese, Kachin, Karen, Karenni, Chin, Shan, these people have suffered. So the in this state where the majorities are Buddhist, Burmese, and like have suffered a lot of the atrocities, like the Buddhist Burmese, how did they respond to that? They are just rebels. They are the rebels. That's why they are being killed. They are different kinds of rebels. They are communists. And then just right now the country has independence. They just wanted to kind of like separate from this country. We have said so many things like this.
မတရားမှုတွေကိုမတရားမှုလို့မမြင်မဲနဲ့
Not seeing the injustice as injustice, but then the whole state kind of like supported the injustice state and the army. Rohingya people have not been seen as people who have been living there for years, and they are seen as Bengali. They are being seen as people who have come across the borders. But then the Arakan state themselves is that right now people are kind of like referring to Burmese have kind of like took it, and then the British like took it back from, and then taking people, taking the land of other people, and then they even like accuse people of like you have come here illegally. So like Kachin, Karen, Karenni, Shan, for their self-determination, for their independence, like they were accused of being rebels, and then they have like these people, and then like many the Burmese people, why do they see this and why did they respond like this? Myanmar is kind of like referred to as Burma, and then they are seeing this as this country, just this people own this. So Myanmar kind of like they're cruel people, and then this is a result of this kind of like like committing atrocities, and they never seen that this is the area where there have been a lot of fighting for independence. And then why it is not seen like this? So and And this, they suffer for many years. And this is just an example that I would like to say. The third question is how, when you kind of like experiencing injustice, how would you respond to this question? As a researcher, the root cause that causes the injustice and then our perception needs to be considered, needs to be. The Rohingya people have suffered a lot, and then for many years, when I learned about this as a researcher, and then I have learned that I myself was also a perpetrator myself, and then I feel very much ashamed of myself. And then the root causes that cause the injustice, I was thinking about them, and then when thinking about that, then our perception that was destroyed, and then this causes the injustice, and then each and individual of us in the society, and then we have come to commit this injustice, and then this is the root cause of that, and then I learned about this. In 2021, February 1st, when the army had taken over power, and then why people from uh, Myanmar people kind of like responded it, again, go against it. You see that the military coup is not fair. They felt this. And then the coup, when you go against the coup, the military also responded very harshly. And then the whole country, within a short period of days, have seen that this is with they are being governed by arms. And then this is the knowledge that they have invested with experience and learn about this. Thank you very much. This is the discussion of Nyan Thit, and then in this discussion, and then when studying this, what he has seen, like the experience of Rohingya people, like so he kind of like taken an extract of this. And when listening to this, I think that you will have seen the same thing. And then the injustice may not have the same name, but then, like I said, like Sianyapite said, even if it is not what you have experienced, the injustice, you hate injustice, and then the root causes that cause this injustice, and then you study about this, and when studying about this, when you saw the root causes, and then you realized about it, and then when looking for the root causes of this, what are the gaps, and then what we need to learn more, then you have to acknowledge about them. This is like all the three speakers talked about it, and then this is like the similarities. And lastly, and then in 2021 revolution, you have been part of the union in the past as well, and right now, right now you have been kind of like issue reward. So right now we have heard from our seniors and just a young people, like what makes you, what inspire you to go forward? Can you please also explain about that?
First of all, I would like to explain a bit about the injustice that I am suffering from. I was born in a relatively stable place, and there was not much discriminatory treatment at my place. But nevertheless, the whole public of Myanmar lived under the injustice system anyway. I was born under the previous military government regime. There were no freedom of speech. There were no um, civil liberties. There were military intelligence everywhere around the community, in the community, and the children of the military related families were favored. And what happened is that when I was young, I um, happened to came across with the brutal attack and brutal beating up on the civilians by the military personnel, and there were suspects for petty crimes that they did not that they were treated very badly by the authorities. They were beating up brutally. They were tortured in the investigation center, interrogation centers, and only later stage that they found out um that they were innocent. But then again, they did not enjoy the 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 justice and the uh, rule of law, proper rule of law. And another thing that I experienced when I was young at my village, there were the agricultural fund that the military government try to provide to the villages. But then again, all this agricultural fund provided to the villagers were full of corruption and bribery and unfair treatment. I realized that. And what happened is that there were all sort of monetary fine and punishment for the villagers by the military regime then that if the farmers could not pay the money back. So this is something that I realized that there were all sort of bad treatments to the villagers at my place by the military government at that time. The thing is that there were no free of charge services by the government to the public. The public had to buy the essential services that were supposed to be free of charge to the public. Say, for example, the water for the plantation, the utility bills, and all of these are not free for sure. So we just have to buy everything. So I did not know why we had this bad system. I could not think all the reasons, but I realized that our lives were not very comfortable, even very difficult, and face all the hardship under the government at that time. And I became the university student, and I participated in the student unions, and I engage in the union activities, and just for the fact that I participated in the union activities. It was seen and treated as a crime for the government authorities, and they tried to arrest us. So I was so shocked that why I became a criminal just being part of the trade union activities. So I happened to read all the laws and provisions of the laws just to really understand if I am the real criminal or not. But anyway, I was sentenced of guilt, of being guilty at that time. So what happened? What I learned as a lesson at that time is that whenever you got arrested, you will be sent to jail anyway. So this is a very injustice system at the court, for sure. And another thing I would like to talk about is the injustice of the access to education. And we have remote schools at the village, and we have better schools at the big cities as well. But then again, the small school small village school student would have to go to the bigger schools as well, and then they were treated very badly by the big school from the towns as well. And of course, whenever there were all sort of student uh, fightings happen at the school, the headmaster where I mean, headmaster treat us very badly just for the fact that we came from the village. Um, there were all sort of at the time I came across in a very nasty fight between the young students as well. So I was brutally attacked by my friends, students, and I was being I was stabbed by my friends, students. But then again, the headmaster asked my parent to come and talk about my parents to come to the school and talked about that. And then and unfairly, the headmaster presided that I was at the wrong, and I realized that the school is also the place of injustice when I was young. I think this is all that I would like to share for the time being. Thank you. Well, you talked about system of discrimination towards the republic, and there are some socio-economic status-based discrimination that you came across as well, and there are also discrimination on the fact that who you are. So you learn all sort of that perspective when you were young. Now you are a revolutionary member of the revolutionary forces, and you now realize that you have to stand up on your own to to continue your journey of self-determination. And I think that I would observe from you that you come up with all this emotion, you come up with all this response based on your experience, based on the lesson that you've learned, and with the knowledge of injustice system that you lived with. The thing is that I realize that in this journey you cannot be alone. Everyone has to be together in changing this unfair system and find the root cause, really, to fix the bad system, basically. So all of the four panelists experience the injustice yourself and as well as those around you. And with the revolutionary attitude, you are traveling and you are maneuvering the endeavor for the freedom, for the justice in the future. We learn a lot from you as well. Now, I would like to invite audience to share your thoughts, to share your comments, and to participate in this conversation. Now, I would like to give the floor for the second round of the discussion. The second round of the discussion is mainly about the recommendation for the future. Siama the Myint say you raise your hand. While raising your hand, may I invite you to talk about the trap that we might be aware of in order not to fall ourselves for the situations of the past. Thank you.
ကိုယ့်အကူစူးစမ်းပြီးတော့လေ့လာပြီးဆင်ခြင်ရမယ်လို့ထင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ဒါပေမဲ့ခုနကတော့အချက်တွေကိုပဲပြန်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်မပြန်ပြီးတော့အခြေခံ
I am not the researcher myself, but what I would like to say is that we have to learn our past lesson. The British colonialists used this divide and rule, so we were being excluded, and each and every one of us were separated based on the race, based on gender, and based on religion. So all of these were the experience that we had, and that it's a very powerful destructive tools that can escalate the negative impact. So this is the trap that we all need to aware as well. And I mean, people normally would afraid of the gun because gun can harm your your body, your physical condition. So, but there are uh, there are much more dangerous destructive tools which as I mentioned already. So we have to aware of that as well. They are much more dangerous than that of the gun. We had our teachers. They may be conscious, they may not be conscious regarding their attitude. So with this kind of attitude they will teach and they taught the students. So this is the trap that each and every one of us should aware as well. And Myint Online and the member of the SEC um, are not going from one household to another to uh, to to distort the attitudes of a people, but they create the system that everyone would fall into it and became unaware of the injustice system. Now, I am very glad to have this kind of conversation because this is a conversation that we should have at every level, at every community. This is a very difficult and sensitive topic to talk about. But principally speaking, we have to be aware of what is righteous and what is wrong. There are still people who still cannot distinguish what is right and what is wrong. So there are also people who are so much biased and believing the wrong as a right for whatever reason, trauma, etc., etc. Of course, with all this hatred and with all this feeling of heart, people, there are people who are still cannot pull itself to live a miserable life and holding the wrong action as a right one. So, having this dialogue, having this conversation, having public activities, having exchange, having self learning, having being strong yourself, and having being aware of yourselves, what I believe is that we will not be easily fall into the trap. Otherwise, the public, all of us, would be in the trap. This is the biggest trap that one can expect. Even, for example, if men online and the military regime would not be there tomorrow, people's situation would not be improved if people are still fall into this trap. We have to nourish the future plantation. You yourself cannot be the bad seed. And with all perspective, you should think yourself if you are on the righteousness, if what you are doing is the right side, how you are going to respond when you encounter the burden. You have to find the right action, the right way. This is going to be very difficult to take the right action, right behavior. Then, if you don't follow that attitude, you would contribute everyone in a very negative ways. So you will always be in the vicious cycle if you cannot have a good practice of doing the right thing. You have to be brave enough to change yourself to be on the right side. If you cannot change the right direction, if you cannot change the right behavior, if you cannot change the right practice, you will always be in this dangerous trap. Thank you. Thank you very much for your words of wisdoms. I'm not going to wrap it up because it is so good that you mentioned everything is all very valuable. Now, I would like to invite next speaker, U20. Now, we have multiple front lines in this struggle, in this revolution. We have political front line, we have armed front line, we have ideology revolutionary front line. So there are several revolutionary pathway that we are in. So the ideology revolution is the revolution that you have within yourself, in your brain. So can you please share your awareness in terms of what we have to know in this ideology revolution? Thank you.
In 2020, before the coup, the military dictators, so what they are doing, and then the first one is that they always lie, and the second is about fear, and then third is the opportunities. They have these three kind of channels, and then they what I am saying, the whole people, the whole public, the whole like like the ethnic cities and everyone, the whole public, I would say, they have kind of like bullied the whole public before 2021 military coup. Like if you looked at like 1960, 1974, and then like all those years, they were able to kind of uh, like get achievement within a short period of time, and then they have used the three channel, and then they have used it, and so many of us have suffered it like seriously, like Siama Dominic has said, like we don't not even know the injustice because the fear is so huge, and then like what we have in this is that the dictators, the military dictators, the the government, what I have seen, the SAC is that terrorist organization, and then those who are leading the terrorist organization, Ma'ala is also the leader of the terrorist organization as well. So if you look carefully in the world, in the Myanmar, there are terrorist organization terrorists, and then near them they have all those religious people around them. So, like to ascertain that the work that they are doing is always relevant. Right now in our country, you will see that as well. So on the other hand, they are doing religion well, and then sometimes like those who wanted to be kind of like part of the religion, so they are also part of it. So it's not that they are into religion or Buddhism, but then in order for their reign to prolong it, like in order for the civil war to be prolonged, they are doing this. And then at that time, in our kind of like in people, like what is happening in the hill area, what is happening in the Rakhine area, like is it true, we are asking about this. And then in Sakai Makwechin, after the the after the military coup, then in the past, like it has been done in the hills area, in the ethnic area, it is still ongoing on. We only know that when we are in prison. Then after 2021, everybody suffer from this the same, like ethnic area or like the Burmese area. So right now, until now, the people have been suffer, and then right now what is happening is that after 2021, right now uh, they might think they kind of like after 3 months everybody on the street, they they might have used force, and then like it will also be achievement like in the past, and these people would stop within 3 months. But then in 2021, as you all know, we have our political momentum is at the highest, and well, uh, these dictators have so many years like bullying us, and then like this is also like there is another propaganda that like the military need to have strength in order to have strength, like like Damador is like everyone, we have this kind of like all the education, all the curriculums is all lies to us. And then what is happening is that they have brainwashed us through the education. It is the same in the army as well. They have like share the propaganda, and then like they have kind of like done like bullying a lot in 2021 for so many years, for generations to generations, like among the people in different levels, in different people, like diverse people and religion, has been a unity. And then this has been a huge like opposite that they are facing. So the mentality of the civilian people right now, within a short period, there has been some advancement that we can see here. So in the past, there has been lies, there has been fears, and then they have done this like in the Bawati Ayekta went to see Baba Utin Wu, kind of like the lobby. It become the lobby of the military dictators, and then like for Daw San Suu Kyi to leave the politics. So they know that there is no outlet for them, and so this we need to our revolutionary forces in this Spring Revolution, like we have the NUG at the front line, CRPH, NLD, NUCC, all these forces at this time. It is very important is that federal democracy, we need to do it. We just talked about federal democracy in our mouth, but in reality, in practice, if we have like the supremacy here, then it is not okay. This is the propaganda of like this is our common enemies. It is therefore at our time we need to embrace and acknowledge the diversity, and then like this kind of ideology has to be respected and has to be acknowledged. We need to kind of like revolutionize everything. And it is not that we are working on to revenge this. And so everything we have to we need to have everything ready, because we want to build a federal democracy state. And then in our heart, in our brain, what is related to federal democracy, the knowledge, the standard, the value, we have to respect and then follow through this. And then we need to have this driving force. So in the past, the brainwash of the military dictatorship, each and individual of us, we need to bury this. If not, then our revolution momentum, this will kind of like stop us or delay us. Therefore, for this revolution, NUG, NUC, CRPH, NLD, all of them. So, and each and every one of us, we have to question ourselves. Do we really want the federal democracy? We need to ask ourselves. And then another thing is that to what extent we have been useful for the revolution, and then to what extent we have been doing for the revolution. We need to kind of like reconsider and thought about ourselves, and therefore like we have learned a lot of things, and then we have been manipulated so many years, and the thing that we have suffered, we need to kind of like leave it in order for the military dictatorship to stop. And any kind of dictatorship, we need to stop them. This is also an ideological revolution. We need to carry it out at the same time. Only then we will be able to lead and go to a new federal democracy state together, and then we will be able to build this state, and then I want to conclude my presentation here. Thank you very much. While you are in discussion, a trap in order to overcome this, and in this situation, so kind of like realizing ourselves is this like in ourselves or what is happening on the road, we will have to see this. And there are a lot of things, and what I would like to discuss a little bit more is that the trap, while trying to avoid this, and then we should be able to go to where we are going. We need to see where we are going as well. You also like highlighted about this, and then where do we want it to go, and like what are the ideology that will take us to where we wanted to go. And then by doing that, then we will be able to kind of like avoid the trap that is laid up on the way. So let me listen to another person's and discussions, and after that we will also invite Sianyam Thit. Let me go to this person.
How are we going to face the injustice? Well, the public in a whole are having their own experience of the brutality of a state. They are aware of that, they experience that, they face this injustice. How are we going to do with this? Well, after the coup d'etat, the root cause of this, the root cause of the military dictatorship, the root cause of having this in the state, it's to be identified. The state brutality is not something new for us. Over many years, Rohingya community were brutally treated. The armed revolutionary groups fighting for their struggle of determinations face the brutal treatment, the injustice. So the public did not stand with them. So the public are part of the brutality. So why people have to be like that? We have to find the reason of being as such. This is the country of Buddhism. This is the country of Burma people. This is the country of the patriarchy system. So all of these are utilized in order to shape the community structure. So we have to be aware of all of this. We were not justice, we were brutal. So this is something that we have to self-realize. And the so-called Myanmar people in the so-called Myanmar place are now involved in the public movement in this revolution, which is the historic movement. So we are the revolutionary people. The revolutionary people really need to understand vividly the vision of the revolution. The people who participate in the revolution for injustice has to be justice. They have to realize what is injustice and what is justice. We are part of the distorted structure of the community. We have to be very conscious about it. We have to be careful with the behavior of injustice that we were designed. So we ourselves have to revolve our old idea to be the right one. Thank you very much. Nyan Thit mentioned about the awareness and the knowledge, and one has to conscious about one knowledge and one behavior to be part of the revolution. One must not be the one pouring water on the poisonous plant. No one is to be left behind in this community, and everyone is deserved to be part of the shade. So everyone is to be on the right direction. So this is something that I learned from his comment. Now, Gomin Lwin U. We talked about the ideology trap. Anything that you would like to mention about it, and anything that you would like to share that the public and every one of us needs to be aware of it, not to fall into this trap. Thank you.
So, if we look at education or political, so it is like we have been tortured there, and then so we have been always been, for example, a Burmese teacher. The voice is interrupted.
နဲ့ဆိုရင်ဖြုတ်လိုက်နော်ကိုနှစ်ချက်နဲ့ပြောတာလားနှစ်ချက်နည်းနည်းဖြုတ်လိုက်မလားနှစ်ချက်တက်ထားရဲဆိုရင်လေဟုတ်တယ်တခါကျရင်
ပြီးလို့ရှိရင်ဖြည်းဖြည်းပြောတာဖြည်းဖြည်းပြော Hello ဟိုတဝဲမှာကျမ duty ကြတာဝန်ကြဘူးလေစကားပြောမြန်တယ်ပြောရ
ဟုတ်နှစ်ချက်ဖြုတ်လိုက်ပြီလားကိုဟုတ်တယ်ကွန်ပျူတာကြောင့်လည်းဖြစ်နိုင်ပါတယ်လို့ဟုတ်စောနာကတော့ကျမတို့အဓိကဘာသာပြန်နေအဆင်ပြေရလားတော့မသိဘူးကျမတို့အားစိုက်ပြီးနားထောင်ရင်တော့ကြားရပါတယ်ဟိုအင်တာနက်အခက်ခဲလေးရှိကြတယ်နောက်ဒီကွန်ပျူတာအခက်ခဲလေးရှိကြတယ်ပေါ့နော်ကျမတို့အခုလူငယ်တွေ
So we have difficulties in
ပြည်သူတွေလည်းနားလည်ပြီးကြပါ
I hope that you will understand. Can you hear me now? Now is your voice is getting better right now. Right now, what I just wanted to talk about something that were left earlier. So in everywhere, in different sectors, we have been discriminated against, and then discriminations. So like officials, and then they speak like Burmese language, like the officials, for example, like they all speak like Burmese language very well. And then in the past, we have seen people who speaks the Burmese language as like bad people. And then we are not happy about them if we see them. So as young people, so even if we are in the school classroom, if a Burmese teacher is coming in, we wanted to run away. So because it is not our ethnic mother tongue, and then we have been discriminated against because we do not speak the language, and so and when we got older, and what is discrimination, and then what causes the injustice when we learn about this. And this is like because of the political situation. In education, we have been discriminated against, and then in education, like, and in hospital, there is also discrimination. This is because of the system in health. We have seen this, and then in 2021, after the military coup, and so what is has been like inspiring for me to do this. And when we are doing a revolution, my belief is that people with in the state, like when if you are doing that, I am not a policy maker, and then this is like I have to be in the within the country. This is what I believed in, and then we love the truth, and then we hate the injustice. So my belief is that, like, so those who love the truth and the fairness has to go against the injustice. And I believe in the armless people's idea. And then like the political movement is there, and therefore this inspire me until today. And another thing is that when we have when we are being oppressed, and then we have accumulated the hatred in ourselves. If I have to say, like when people, in order for the hate to be, it's not something that we cannot do this, and then I do accept it. But then what I was thinking is that there should be like the true hatred. If I have to say, people who go make against you, who oppress you, I think that we have to hate these people. And according to Socrates, like desire part and reasoning part, and then we have to reason about this, and then in so another thing is that like equality, you have to be treated like equally. So this kind of things, so we want to be equally treated, and then so this kind of until today, our ethnic people, we have like self-determinations. Everybody has this self-determination. And then in every generations, our values, our identity, our parents, customs, and then traditions, we would like them to be acknowledged. For example, the Burmese people go to school, and then the teachings and learning are in Burmese language. And for us who do not speak Burmese language, then we need to kind of like educate them in their language. This is like equality. Uh, so so this is also self-determination as well. So in the beginning of the revolution, we talked about it so loudly. We need to think about like the ideology revolution as well. And then today, like the thinking has changed. I don't think that has changed. So we have been brought up in different dictators under different dictatorship, and then they want us to be in the way they want us. Like they have kind of like set it up and then configure it in a way. So everybody needs to listen to the teacher at home, also to the parents, and so everybody has to listen to those ruling power. And so in our society, it has been there. And Before the coup in 2018, like Rohingya people, like the government that we have elected and then the army together, they have committed the genocide. And it is not, people are talking about this is the army who is committing this, but then it is both the army and the government. They work hand in hand and then did that. In the past, Rohingya was not accepted. Rohingya word was not accepted. They talked about only Bengali. And then like many of us, like we stand with Aung San Suu Kyi, and then we kind of like supported the genocide. And this is something very painful for all of us. I was not part of it. So we stand with Aung San Suu Kyi, mean we stand with Tamador. It is like that. So if you look at from the people who have suffered from there, like those who are in power have committed this crime, and most of the people are not on their side and then supporting this crime. And it is very kind of like disheartening. And then right now the NUG government has accepted the word Rohingya, and then everybody has become Rohingya. So the genocide, when we are talking about the genocide, so everybody accepted. So the ideology has to change. I think that this is not the ideological change. So the institution that they are respecting has changed. That's why they have changed. This is not the right way of changes. So in China, like Chairman Mao, when they have built up the ideology and at that time they were communists, and they want to liberate it for those who do not have anything. They learn it from there, and then they want to liberate it. The raw, you have the right to go against the wrong leadership. In the Chinese Revolution, this is what it was done. So when teaching this, so what I would like to say is that in order for to change the people, it is not just, we cannot talk only on the screen. Like everyone is saying, we have more than 72 people living in the rural area. And then through the social media, we cannot change the opinion of the people. And then we need to build up the change of ideology among people. So let me say about one example. Right now, NUG government, they accepted the Thinzar region as a federal unit. They have said it, but then right now, if you look at it, so we have seen that even the regional governments are still going through the NUG. We have to change the system there. And then if we do not change this, then like it will not change. They are the public figure. They need to change, and then like they will change the people as well. Without them changing, the people will not change. Another thing is that another change needed is that the political system is a federal democracy system. Like all the ethnic ethnicities are in need of that. And then in our society, we have different identities, and then this needs to be embraced and respected. And this kind of things needs to be unified. And then whatever system we have, if we do not embrace this, and then federal democracy will just be on the shelf. So some resource persons were saying that the constitution, it is not a constitutional value. The federal democracy has to be aligned with other systems that will be in the among the people. Therefore, in the coming federal state, we will have different identities and respect each other and have a unified systems. And then if it is not that, then will not be able to be at peace. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. And then I have kind of like listened to the voices and we were not aware of your microphone, so I hope that everybody will understand, and thank you very much. Though the honesty of a young person, you will have to study about this, and then we cannot kind of like our words cannot be lost on air, and these words has right now, these words have to be among the people, and then this. So it will not just only shake hand and then Myanmar will not change. Just a leader and just a group of people has just shake hands and then it will not change. So we have studied about this, and then like our people have learned. Can you also please write in the chat and also comment? Our round has completed, and therefore thank you very much, and we will give you the answer. And then if you would like to speak, then I will kind of like ask you to switch on my microphone. And then right now we have these people as an anonymous person. And so
Anonymous wrote in the Q&A box that in order to have this revolution a success one, the ideology revolution is needed. And we are different and separated throughout all the history. So we have to be balanced in terms of our perspective, and we need to find the common ground among ourselves so that the military dictatorship and all forms of dictators will be uprooted. So I kind of concerned that it will take time to have the winning or losing results. So if we cannot change our attitudes and perspective, then if we cannot change our attitude, I'm worried that this revolution will also bring the negative consequences as well. And the longer the revolution would be, the worse that the consequences could happen. So this is a remark by anonymous attendee, and another anonymous attendee mentioned that the people idea changed a lot in this revolution compared with that of the one in the past. But then again, how are we going to change? How are we going to measure the ideology changes of the public, and how long this revolution would be lasted? And we have to realize that we are doing things in this revolution which is very different ways of behaving and doing things than that of the normal situation. We need to have a priority in in our action in this revolution. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite the panelists to share their comment in responding the remarks by the audience. Thank you. I would like to say one thing, that we are not perfect in any way. We are learning our lessons, we are learning our past mistakes, and we are learning other people's mistakes as well. We are now realizing all our learning curves as well. I would like to encourage to the audience that to overcome all the negative feelings, or to overcome with all the past mistakes, to keep yourself move for the future. Thank you.
ချိန်တစ်ခုလည်းရပြီဆိုတော့ကျွန်မဒီမှာတင်နားခွင့်ပြုပါပေါ့နော်ကျွန်မဆွေးနွေးဖလှယ်မှုကိုမိကုန်းတွေလည်းပြီးပြီဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီ speaker တွေပြောခဲ့တဲ့အချက်တွေတည်းကအဓိကကြားတဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့သုံးသပ်ချက်ဒီနေ့ခေါင်းစဉ်ရဲ့မိကုန်းဖြစ်တယ်เนาะဘာလဲဆိုတော့နာကြီးမှုတွေကိုတော်လိုင်းအတွေးခေါ်ဖြစ်ဘယ်လိုပြောင်းမလဲဆိုတဲ့အခါမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီ speaker တွေစီကနေလေ့လာသင်ယူလိုက်ရဆိုနာကြီးမှုဖြစ်စေမုန်းတီးမှုဖြစ်စေစိတ်အလိုမကျမှုဒါတွေကဒါပုရုဇဉ်တွေရဲ့ဒါတဘာဝတုံ့ပြန်မှုတွေဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီတုံ့ပြန်မှုတွေရှိတော့ဒါမှားယွင်းနေတဲ့ကိစ္စတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးတကယ်လဲဒီလောက်မုန်းတီးနာကြီးမှုများလောက်အောင်ဒီစိုးရုံမှုတွေမြောင်များစွာကျမတို့ပြည်သူတွေကြုံနေရတာရှိတယ်ဒါအခုမှလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးနှစ်ပေါင်းများစွာစနစ်ထဲမှာလည်းတွတ်သွင်းထားသလိုဖိနှိပ်မှုတွေနဲ့အသားကျခဲ့ကြရတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီနာကြီးမှုတွေကိုပြည်သူတွေကြုံနေရတာလဲကျမတို့အများကြီးအချင်းချင်းဖေးမဖလဲစာနာပြီးတော့ဖေးမပြီးတွားရမယ်ပေါ့နော်ကုညီစောင့်ရှောက်ပေးရမယ်တစ်ချိန်တည်းမှာလဲကျမတို့အရှိရပြောသလိုတော်လန်ရေးကစစ်ရေးတစ်ခုလည်းနေမဟုတ်ဘူးအတွေးခေါ်လို့ပြောရင်အတွေးခေါ်တကယ်ပြောင်းသွားတဲ့အဆင့်ထိဆိုရင်ကျမတို့ကတော်လန်ရေးဒီကြားနိုင်ပါတယ်ဘာလို့ဆိုအတွေးခေါ်ဒီအချိန်ယူပါတယ်ဒီကဒါကြောင့်မလို့ဒီတော်လန်ရေးအတွေးခေါ်ဖြစ်ပြောင်းဖို့ဆိုတာလူတစ်ယောက်မှာဆိုရင်လဲတော်တော်ကြာနိုင်နေပေါ့နော်ကြာနိုင်တယ်လို့တစ်ချိန်တည်းမှာလဲဒီ2021ဒီလူငယ်တွေဆိုရင်အတွေးခေါ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာမြင်းမြန်းဆန်းဆန်းဖြစ်ပြောင်းလဲလိုက်တာရှိတယ်လို့ခုထိပြောင်းမလဲနိုင်တဲ့လူငယ်တွေအများကြီးကြံပါသေးတယ်အများကြီးကြံပါသေးတယ်ခုချိန်ဒီစေအုပ်စုရဲ့ဝါဒမိုင်းတွေလို့ဆရာဦးထွန်းမြင့်ဦးထွန်းကြည်ပြောရသလိုမျိုးပဲစစ်ကြီးစိုးရေးဝါဒတက်မတော်ကြီးစိုးရေးဒီဝါဒတွေရှိတယ်လူမျိုးရေးဘာသာရေးမိုင်းတွေရှိတယ်လူမျိုးကြီးဝါဒအမြင့်တွယ်နေတဲ့သတင်းတူသတင်းမားတွေနဲ့ကျမတို့ဒါလူနည်းစုပေါင်းတန်ရှင်တန်ခဲ့ရတယ်အကြောက်တရားလဲကြီးစိုးတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါတွေကိုကျမတို့ကဒီနေ့ကာလမှာကိုလန်းเจ้าနဲ့ကိုတက်တက်မက်မက်ရှောက်ဖို့အတွက်ကိုတွားကြမယ်တွားတဲ့အခါမှာဒီလိုမျိုးတက်တက်မက်မက်ရှောက်ရင်းနဲ့မှအတွေးခေါ်တော်လန်ရေးအတွေးခေါ်တွေကိုယ့်ဟာကိုကိုတော်လန်ရင်းအဖြစ်အတွေးခေါ်တွေပြန်လဲပြုပြင်ပြောင်းလဲမှုတွေလုပ်ဖို့လိုပါတယ်ရဲဝဝနဲ့ရဲဝင်ဆုံးပြုပြင်ပြောင်းလဲဖို့လိုတယ်ဆိုတဲ့ဟာပေါ့နော်အဓိကဒီနေ့ဆွေးနွေးပွဲမှာတော့ကျမထင်တယ်ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဆရာမကြီးဆုံးပြောချင်တာရှိလားဟုတ်
ရှိရအခုမှလည်းဟိုတယောက်ကမိခွန်းလေးပို့ထားတာပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့တွေးခေါ်ပြောင်းလဲရေးကိုလက်ခံဖို့အတွက်စပြီးတော့ဒါပထမဦးဆုံးကျွန်မရှင်းတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီဆွေးနွေးပွဲအတွေးခေါ်ပြောင်းလဲဖို့အတွက်ကိုတဲ့ကိုမင်းလွင်ဦးကဘယ်လိုစပြီးတော့ပြောင်းလဲခြင်းရမလဲဆိုပြီးမိခွန်းလေးကိုရေးထားတယ်အဲ့ဒါကိုလည်းတောက်ဖြည့်ပြီးစီစဉ်နံပါတ်1ပါနံပါတ်2ကအဲ့အရေးကြီးလူတွေကခုနကပြောပြည့်ချက်ကအနည်းဆုံးစင်လို့ပဲပြောမှာပေါ့နော်မတရားမှုကိုမတရားမှုမှမသိရဘူးရှိဒါကဆင်းရဲချမ်းသာနဲ့မတူပညာနဲ့ပညာမဲ့နဲ့သိချင်းမသိချင်းသိအောင်စူးစမ်းခြင်းချင်းနဲ့ဆိုင်ပေါ့နော်ဒါဒီရာရှိကြီးတွေမှာစတားပြောသူတွေပဲဖြစ်နေတာရှိဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီလုံးဝမတရားမှုကိုမတရားမှုလို့မသိရလို့ရှိတယ်သိနည်းနည်းပဲသိရလို့ရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါဟာဘာကြောင့်ဖြစ်နေရလဲဆိုတော့ခုန propaganda လို့ပြောတဲ့ဒီတမင်တက်ရွေးစင်းနဲ့လုပ်နေရရှိတယ်လို့ပဲဒီဘက်ကစက်ကျင်နဲ့အတိုက်ခံဘက်က ဒါကိုတော်လှန်နေပါတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အင်အားစုတွေဘက်ကလည်းရေလိုစဉ်းစားချက်တွေနဲ့ရေလိုပေါ်ပင်မျောလင်းချက်အမှားတွေပေးနေပြီးတော့ရေလိုဖြည့်ရှင်းချက်တွေကြောင့်မလို့တကယ် root cause ကလွတ်သွားတယ်လို့ကျွန်မမြင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့နောက်တစ်ခုကအဲ့လိုအတိုက်ခံအင်အားစုတွေထဲမှာလည်းခုန popular ဖြစ်တဲ့တင်ရှင်သဘောမျိုးတွေကိုပုံအောမျက်စိမှိတ်ပြီးတော့အပ်လိုက်ခြင်းရတယ်ဒီခုနကတော့ပြောတယ်အတွေးဖော်ပြောင်းလဲမှုရက်တန့်လိုက်တာပဲဘာလို့တယောက်ယောက်ကနေပြီးတော့ဒါပြောင်းလဲနေဆိုတဲ့ဟာတယောက်ယောက်ကဒါပြောင်းလဲပေးနိုင်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အတွေးဖော်အမှားကြီးအရင်ဆိုရပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ပြည်သူသားလည်းဆိုပြည်သူနဲ့တူလို့ပြည်သူသားလည်းအထီးကလို့ဆိုတဲ့စကားလုံးတွေကိုပါလာအောင်ဆိုရင်နိုင်ငံတစ်ခုပြောင်းလဲဖို့ဆိုတာအဲ့ဒါအရင်အမင်းပေါ့တယောက်ယောက်ကနေပြီးတော့ဖန်ဆင်းရှင်အနေနဲ့ဘယ်လိုမှမပြောင်းဘူးဆိုတော့အားလုံးကစောင့်မျှော်နေကြတယ်အားလုံးကဟာပြောင်းလဲချင်ကြတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ပြောင်းလဲဖို့တကယ်ပါလာတဲ့လူတွေကနည်းနေတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့အတွေးကောင်ပါဆိုတော့အဲ့လိုဟာအပြင်မှာခုနအာဏာရှင်အုပ်စုဟာဒီဇိုင်းမှတ်မှတ်ကိုသူတို့ရဲ့စစ်ဗျူဟာကိုလုပ်နေရပဲစစ်ဗျူဟာမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီအာဏာဖိမတရားမှုဆက်လက်တက်ဆိုးရှိဘူးကလုပ်နေရမယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မို့အဆုံးသတ်တိုက်ပွဲဆိုတာကျွန်မမှာမရှိဘူးလို့ကျွန်မယူဆတယ်အာဏာရှင်ဟာလူတဘာဝအရာတယောက်နဲ့တယောက်အနိုင်ကျင့်နေမှာအဲ့ဒါကိုကျွန်မတို့ကတတိလက်လွတ်နဲ့ပေးလိုက်တာနဲ့သူကအင်အားကြီးကြီးချေနေရောက်လာတာပေါ့နော်ဆိုတော့အာဏာရှင်နှီးမျိုးနဲ့လုပ်တယ်အခုဂျူးတန်ပေါင်းများစွာကိုတတ်သွားတဲ့နာဇီကတက်ခံဤအချိန်ထိကိုတချင်းတွေဆိုပြပြီးတော့အစိတ်တန်းငွေတွေကိုသွားဖို့ဒီတွေကိုငါတို့အတက်ခံရပါတော့တက်ခံရတော့ပါပဲဆိုတော့မတိဘဲနဲ့ကိုအဲ့ဒီထဲကိုညင်ညင်သာသာလေးတယောက်ပြီးတယောက်တန်းစီပြီးတော့တင်ကြတာအဲ့ဒီလိုအစိတ်နဲ့တတ်တာမဟုတ်ဘူးလို့အထွေးခေါ်နဲ့တတ်နေအောင်ငြိမ်ခံနေတဲ့အင်မတန်ကြောက်စရာကောင်းတယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မို့ကိုမင်းလွင်ဦးပြောတဲ့ဒီအတွေးခေါ်ပြောင်းလဲရင်းကိုဒါဘယ်လိုစမလဲဆိုတဲ့အကြံဉာဏ်လေးကိုနောက်ဆုံးပေးစီချင်
ကိုမင်းလွင်ဆက်ပြောပြပါအောင်အဲ့ဆိုဒီမိကုန်းကခုဒီမှာlive မှာမေးထားတယ်ပေါ့နော်တစ်ချိန်တည်းမှာလဲဆရာမကြီးလဲဆက်ပြီးတော့မေးရဲဆိုတော့ပြောပြပါအောင်နော်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျွန်တော်ခုနကပြောသလိုပဲတရုတ်ပြည်တွင်းစစ်ပေါ့ဗျာကျွန်တော်နိုင်ရတဲ့တရုတ်ပြည်တွင်းစစ်ပေါ့ဗျာအဲ့တရုတ်ပြည်တွင်းစစ်မှာမော်စီတူကကောင်းကောင်းသူပြည်သူလူထုတွေပေါ်ပြောင်းလဲဖို့အာဏာရှင်လက်အောက်ကဂျကရှိလက်အောက်ကနေလွန်မြောက်ဖို့ကြိုးစားတဲ့အခါမှာတိုးခုပေါ့ဗျာအခြေခံယူဆတိုးခုကိုကျွန်တော်သူကတိဆက်ပေးအဲ့အခြေခံယူဆတိုးခုမှာပစ္စည်းမဲ့လူသားစားအာဏာကိုတိဆက်ပြီးတော့လွန်မြောက်ဖို့ကြိုးစားဖို့အဲ့လွန်မြောက်ရုပ်ထွက်နိုင်ရမယ်ဆိုတဲ့တွေးခေါ်မှုတိဆက်ပေးအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့လူတော်လာရေးမှာလည်းပဲကျွန်တော်ကလက်နက်မဲ့လူပါဝါကိုပုံယူကြည့်တဲ့အခါကျတော့လက်နက်မဲ့လူလူသားလည်းကျွန်တော်ထင်တာကဒီစနစ်တစ်ခုကိုပြောင်းလဲဖို့အဓိကကျတဲ့institution လို့မြင်တယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့လူတော်လာရေးမှာပထမဆုံးရေးကြီးစုကလက်နက်မဲ့လူလူရဲ့ power ကိုတိဆောက်ပြီးတော့လွတ်မြောက်နိုင်တဲ့နီလန်ရှိရဆိုတဲ့အခါကိုအဲ့ဒီခေါ်မျိုးကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကလူဖွဲ့စည်းပြီးတော့တိဆောက်ပြီးလို့လုပ်မယ်ချင်းပြီးတော့နောက်တစ်ခုကဘာလဲဆိုတော့ခုခံတော်လာစစ်ပေါ့ဗျာတရားတဲ့ခုခံတော်လာစစ်အဲ့တော့စစ်ကိုရင်ဆိုင်ဖို့ပြည့်ပြည့်နေအောင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီခေါ်နဲ့တိဆောက်ပြီးလို့အဲ့ကိုစစ်ကိုစစ်ရင်ဆိုင်တဲ့အခါမှာနိုင်ငံတကာကသတ်မှတ်တဲ့စံလုံးတန်ဖိုးတွေနိုင်ငံတကာဂျီနီဗာဥပဒေသတ်တယ်အဲ့အရာကိုလက်ခံပြီးတော့ပေါ်တယ်ပေါ့ဗျာနိုင်ငံတကာလူသားချင်းစာနာထောက်ထားမှုဆိုင်ရာကျေဝတိခါအဲ့ဒါကိုလက်ခံတန်ဖိုးထားပြီးတော့ရင်ဆိုင်တိတ်ပွဲဆင်နွှဲနိုင်တဲ့တွေ့ခေါ်မှုတိဆောက်ပြီးလို့လုပ်နေတယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကကောင်းဆောင်မှုမှားတွေကိုဥဆောင်မှုကောင်းဆောင်မှုမှားတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကပိုကန်ရမယ်ကောင်းဆောင်မှုမှားတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကဖြုတ်ချနိုင်ရမယ်ဆိုတဲ့တွေ့ခေါ်မျိုးလူလူကြားထဲမှာကျွန်တော်တိဆောက်ပြီးလို့လုပ်နေတယ်ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့အခုချိန်ကြီးအားလုံးသိရတဲ့အတိုင်းပဲဘယ်လိုလဲပြောလို့ရှိရင်ဗျာဒီလူလူကအင်ဂျီကသူတို့ရဲ့အင်ဂျီဆိုတာလေသူတို့ရဲ့ခေါင်းဆောင်လူသမ ्या ကိုလက်ခံနေရတဲ့အနေအထားမျိုးဖြစ်တယ်ဗျအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့မြင်တာကပြည်သူလူထုကခေါင်းဆောင်မှုမှားတွေကိုခေါင်းဆောင်မှုမှားလို့ပြီးအောင်ရင်လို့လို့လေခေါင်းဆောင်မှုမှားတွေကိုပိုကန်ဖို့ခွင့်ရရှိရဆိုတဲ့ဟာကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ပြည်သူလူထုအောင်ပြုလုပ်တယ်ခုမှပေါ်ရီကနေပြီးတော့ပညာရေးဝန်ကြီးလုပ်နေတဲ့ဟာတိုင်းမျိုးကိုကျွန်တော်တို့လက်ခံတဲ့အကြောင်းရှိလူနဲ့တူရှိတယ်လို့ပြောရမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လူနဲ့ပါတယ်လူရဲ့ဒုက္ခဆင်းရဲကိုသူခံစားတတ်ဖို့လိုတယ်ဒါမှပြည်သူလူထုကလည်းရေးရှိမှလက်ခံနိုင်တဲ့ကောင်းဆောင်တွေဖြစ်လာနိုင်တယ်ပြီးတော့နောက်တစ်ခုကဘာလဲဆိုတော့အခုပြည်သူအုပ်ချုပ်ရေးတွေဗျာဒါကျွန်တော်ဒေတာရဲ့အခြေအနေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်ပြောမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပြည်သူအုပ်ချုပ်ရေးထိုင်ရနေပြီးတော့ပြည်သူအုပ်ချုပ်ရေးတောင်းခံလုပ်နေလို့မရဘူးဗျာအဲ့လိုလုပ်နေတယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်အနေနဲ့ပြောမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့လိုအုပ်ချုပ်မှုမျိုးကျွန်တော်လက်မခံဘူး NUG ကိုကျွန်တော်မူအဖြစ်လက်ခံခြင်းလက်ခံမယ်အဲ့လိုအုပ်ချုပ်မှုမျိုးကိုတော့ပြည်သူနဲ့တူတူမရှိနေတဲ့အုပ်ချုပ်မှုမျိုးကိုကျွန်တော်လက်ခံမှာမဟုတ်ဘူးအဲ့ဒါကိုစက်ကျင်ဖို့လိုတယ်အဲ့ဒါကိုဝေဖန်ထုတ်ပြဖို့လိုတယ်ဆိုတဲ့တွေးခေါ်မှုပြည်သူလူထုချမ်းမှာတိစောက်နေလို့နောက်တစ်ခုကကျွန်တော်အခုရှေ့မှာပြောထားတာလည်းပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့သွားမဲ့နိုင်ငံရေးစနစ်က Federal Democracy ပြည်ထောင်စုဖြစ်တယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့သွားမဲ့နိုင်ငံရေးစနစ်နဲ့လက်ရောညီထွေရှိမဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့တိုင်းပြည်မှာစုံလင်ကွဲပြားတဲ့ဒေလီထိုးရန်ဘာသာစကားညီချင်းမှုဒီအများကြီးရှိအဲ့ဒါကိုဇက်ကနေပြီးတော့ပဲလက်ခံနေလို့မရဘူးအဲ့တော့ဥပမာတစ်ခုပြရဖို့ပြီးတဲ့တိုင်ပဲပြီးခဲ့တဲ့အာဏာသိမ်းခင်ကာလကတိုင်းသားတွေရဲ့ခံစားချက်ကိုနားလည်ပြောရင်းနဲ့ပဲအဲ့ကင်းဒီမှာပို့ချုပ်ကြီးကိုအတင်းသွားဆောက်တာအဲ့လိုမျိုးဟာတွေမရဘူးဗျတကယ်ကိုပြန်လာတော့ခံစားတတ်ဖို့လိုဆော်ရွက်ပုံမှာပဲအဆက်တက်ကပဲခံစားနေလို့မရဘူးအဲ့လိုတွေးခေါ်မျိုးဒီလူပဲစီကမှတိစောက်နိုင်ဖို့လိုတယ်ဒါမှကျွန်တော်တို့သွားမယ် Federal Democracy ပြည်ထောင်စုကရှော့ရှူကျွန်တော်တို့ရောက်နေမှာဖြစ်တယ်ပြီးတော့ဒီတော်လိုင်းကြီးကခြေချလာတယ်ဗျာခြေချလာတော့ရက်တီကိုတော်တော်ခက်တယ်မိသားစုစောင်းနေရက်တီကိုတော်တော်ခက်တာအားလို့သိရတယ်ပဲအဲ့တော့တချို့တွေကတရားမျှတမှုကိုလက်ညှိုးတယ်တံပိုးထားတယ်မတရားမှုကိုစကြင်တော်လိုင်းကျင်ကြတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကျောင်းမျိုးကြောက်ပြည်ပကိုရုပ်သွားတဲ့လူငယ်လည်းရှိတယ်အဲ့တော့ပြည်ပကိုရုပ်သွားတဲ့လူငယ်တွေ level သူတို့တက်နိုင်တဲ့ဘက်ကနေပြီးတော့ပါဝင်တော်လာနေတာမျိုးကျွန်တော်တို့ကတွေ့ရတယ်လူမှု power ကိုတိစောက်တဲ့အခါမှာလက်ရှိတိုင်းပြည်မှာရှိနေတဲ့လူကြီးပဲဖြစ်လူငယ်ပဲဖြစ်အဲ့ဒီလူထုတွေကတော်လိုင်းရေးထဲမှာထက်ထက်ဝင်ပါနိုင်တယ်ပါလို့ရတယ်သူတို့ကလက်နက်မဲ့လူထုကလည်းရစ်ပါရောက်တယ်ဆိုပြီးတွေးခေါ်မျိုးကတိစောက်နိုင်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့တော်လိုင်းရေးကရေရှိမှာခံနိုင်ရှိနိုင်မှာဖြစ်တယ်မဟုတ်လို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့တော်လိုင်းရေးနဲ့ပြည်သူလူထုကကိုယ်ကပြပြတွေဖြစ်သွားနိုင်တယ်ကျွန်တော်မြင်တာတော့ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျေးဇူးပါဗျာ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျေးဇူးပါကိုမင်းလုံးအခုဆိုရင်ကိုမင်းလုံးရဲ့ဆွေးနွေးချက်ကိုကျမတို့မေးတဲ့သူလည်းအဆင်ပြေပြီလို့ထင်တယ်နော်အရှိပိုင်းမှာလည်းကျမတို့အခြား speaker တွေကဘလို့တွေးခေါ်တွေကိုတိဆောက်တဲ့တယ်လဲဘလို့တွေးခေါ်တွေအဓိကအမြင့်ဖြတ်တဲ့တယ်လဲဆိုတဲ့အပိုင်းတွေဖလှယ်ခဲ့ကြတာရှိရဲဆိုတော့ဒီနေ့စကားဝိုင်းရောကျမဒီမှာလည်းအဆုံးသတ်ခွင့်ပေးပါကျမတို့အချိန်တိပေါ့နော်ဆရာမတွေရောဆရာတွေရောအချိန်ပေးပြီးတော့ပါဝင်ဖလှယ်ပေးတယ်လေဟုတ်ကဲ့ဟုတ်ဆိုတော့ဆရာမကြီး
ရေတကယ်ပဲပြောမယ်တခုလည်းပဲအဲ့တော့ခုနကတော့ပြောတယ်အတွေးခေါ်ပြောင်းလဲမှာအောက်ခြေမှာပြန့်နှံ့သွားဖို့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ထိတ်ဆုံးမှရှိတဲ့ NUG အားလုံးကယုံကြည်မှုပေးထားတယ် NUG ကအရင်ကမှားခဲ့တဲ့အမှားတွေကိုပထမဆုံးဝန်ခံတာဟာဒီအတွေးခေါ်ပြောင်းလဲမှုရဲ့အရေးကြီးဆုံးပထမအဆင့်တော့ကျွန်မမြင်ပါရှင်ဒါပါပဲ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါဆရာမကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ဒီစကားပြောပေးတဲ့အတွက်လည်းလေကျွန်မထင်တယ်ဒီစကားလည်းကျမတို့အများကြီးဒီလူနည်းစုအစုဖွဲ့တွေနောက်လူငယ်တော်လှန်ရေးသမားတွေဒါတွေပြောနေကြတာပေါ့နော်ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့အမားတွေကိုဝင်ချတောင်းပန်အတိမတ်ပြုဖို့အဓိကအခြေခံကြဆုံးတော့တွေးခေါ်တော်လှန်ရေးလက်တွေ့ဖြစ်မယ်ပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုကဒီလိုလောက်ရက်ကလည်းဆရာမကြီးကိုပဲထပ်ပြီးထောက်ခံရင်းနဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဒါကျမတို့ဒီနေ့ရဲ့ဆွေးနွေးပွဲဖြစ်တဲ့နာကြီးမှုတွေရဲ့နောက်ဆက်တွဲကျမတို့တော်လှန်ရေးအတွေးခေါ်ကိုဒါဥဆောင်နေတဲ့နိုင်ငံရေးအစုဖွဲ့ကစတင်ပြီးတော့ပြောင်းပြလိုက်တဲ့နမူနာဖြစ်လာမယ်လို့လည်းကျွန်တော်နော်ဆရာမဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါ
ဟုတ်တယ်ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့ NUG ကိုအကုန်လုံးကညှော်လင့်ပါတယ်ယုံကြည်ခြင်းပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ဒီပထမဆုံးအဆင့်ဟာလုပ်တင်တယ်လုပ်ရမယ်ဆိုတာဦးဆောင် leadership လုပ်နေတဲ့အဖွဲ့ကတတိကိုပြုတ်ပြီးတော့တက်တွေ့ပြရမှာပါအဲ့ဒါမှပြည်သူဟာနောက်ကနေပြီးတော့အသိဉာဏ်ပွင့်လင်းလာမယ် transparency ရလာမယ်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကလေကျွန်မဆက်ပြောတာတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးဒီအဲ့ဒီလိုပြောလိုက်တိုင်းမှာခုနကသားပြောသလိုပဲအရင်ကကရင်ဒီမှာဘယ်လိုလုပ်ခဲ့တယ်ပါဖြစ်ဒါတွေကအတိတ်ကြီးအတိတ်ကဟာတွေကိုပြန်တူးဆွမနေပါနဲ့ဆိုရင် we have to learn the lesson နော်အဲ့တော့အဲ့ဒီဟာကလူတိုင်းမှာအရင်လိုဖြစ်အောင်မလားဆိုတဲ့စိတ်ကအမြဲတမ်းရှိပါတယ်ဒါကြောင့်မို့အဆုံးသတ်တိုက်ပွဲဒါပြီးသွားပြီဆိုတာမဟုတ်ဘူးကျမတို့ကအမြဲတမ်းဒီအတိတ်တတိနဲ့အမြဲတမ်းကိုကျမတို့အမြဲတမ်းဒီလိုမျိုးတော်လန်စိတ်ရှိနေရပါမယ်ဘာလို့တော်လန်ပါလဲဆိုတော့မတရားမှုကိုတော်လန်စိတ်ကအမြဲရှိနေရပါမယ်အဆုံးသတ်တိုက်ပွဲတပွဲတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးဒါမျိုးအချိန်မရွေးဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ဘယ်သူမှဆိုဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ပြောင်းနိုင်မှာမဟုတ်ဘူးလက်နဲ့ပါမှာမဟုတ်ချက်ချင်းကြီးလက်နဲ့ကကြီးဖြစ်လာတာမဟုတ်ဘူးဒါတွေအားလုံးဟာစနစ်တကျနဲ့ကိုအမှားတွေကိုတွင်းလာတာဟာနှစ်ပရိတ်တွေကနေဖြစ်လာနောက်နှစ်ပရိတ်တွေကမှလည်းဒါမျိုးတွေထပ်ဖြစ်နေဆိုတော့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ကျမတို့ကအတိတ်ကဟာတွေကို လက်ညှိုးထိုးရေးအပြစ်တင်ကြမဟုတ်ဒါမျိုးထပ်ဖြစ်လို့မရဘူးဆိုတဲ့ကိစ္စကိုတော့ပြောရမယ်ပြီးလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီဟာမျိုးနောက်မဖြစ်ပါဘူးဆိုပြီးတော့ကိုယ်တိုင်ဓာတ်ရိုက်တော်၎င်းပြောဝိုင်းတော်၎င်းပတ်သက်ခဲ့တဲ့အခုလက်ရှိဥဆောင်မှုပေးနေတဲ့ NUG NUCC တွေအကုန်လုံးကတတိချက်ပြီးတော့ဝန်ခံပေးဖို့ကပထမဆုံးအရေးကြီးဆုံးအချက်လို့ကျွန်တော်တို့မြင်ပါတယ်ရှင်
ခြေခံကြဆုံးကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်ဆရာမကြီးကိုရိုင်းလဲ CDM အနေနဲ့ပေါ့ဒီနေ့အချိန်ထိအခုလိုမျိုးတွေးခေါ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာမှာဥဆောင်နိုင်တဲ့အနေထားထီကိုပေါ့နော်ရက်တီပေးနေတာအများကြီးလေးစားတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်တယ်ချိန်ထဲမှာလည်းကျမတို့ speaker တွေဖြစ်ဖိတ်ခေါ်ထားတဲ့အခြား speaker တွေဖြစ်တဲ့ဦးထွန်းကြီးနောက်ကိုမင်းလွင်ဦးဆရာမြန်ကြည်တဲ့အချိန်ပေးတဲ့အတွက်ကောပြီးတော့လက်ရှိလုပ်နေတဲ့တော်လှန်ရေးတွေလည်းအောင်မြင်ပါစေလုံခြုံပါစေဆက်ပြီးတော့ဒီထက်မကလုံနိုင်ပါစေလို့လည်းကျမတို့ပြည်သူ့ဘဏ္ဍာအဖွဲ့သားတွေကဆုတောင်းလိုက်ပါတယ်လို့ဟုတ်ပါဝင်ပေးကြတဲ့ speaker တွေအများကြီးကျေးဇူးတင်တယ်ကျမတို့နားထောင်ပေးနေတဲ့ပရိသတ်တယောက်ချင်းစီလဲဒီအတွေးခေါ်